Good day to all the listeners. I, Neha Shah, co founder of Mentor My Board, welcome you all to this exclusive series by Free Press Journal in association with Mentor My Board on growth with governance. This series was started with a cynosure on role of independent directors in business growth and sustainability. Mentor My Board is a virtual platform to groom, nurture, and handhold directors and board aspirants. We have a vision to build sustainable boards with ethical leadership and governance and create a community of 1 lakh trained directors. The three pillars to handhold us to achieve this mission are the directors, mentors, and the corporates. Free Press Journal is more than 9 decades old newspaper. Today it has gone beyond just being a print medium as it has strong digital presence with large online subscribers for their e-paper. FPJ has been quite active in the webinar space since the lockdown, and this present initiative, organized today, is a part of FPJ's ongoing strategy to create awareness on various topics of governance, sustainability in the core of its values. In this series today, we hereby come with an exclusive interview with Mr. G Srinivasan. Let me introduce the moderators for the day today. Our moderator is Bharti Iyer, who is an insurance governance professional with 3 decades of experience, an eminent advisor to Mentor My Board team as well. Welcome, Bharti. Our second moderator for the day is Jessilia. She is the principal correspondent from Free Press Journal. Over to you, Bharti ma'am, for the introduction of the speaker and taking the session ahead.
Yeah, it's my really warm welcome, pleasure, and a privilege to once again, welcome Mr. G Srinivasan, ex-chairman of New India Assurance, and also the current director of studies at National Insurance Academy, Pune, to this session. Uh, uh, Basically, I would just like to say that he's a chartered accountant by qualification, and then all along for the last 40 years, sir, if I might ask. Yeah, has been with insurance throughout, specifically general insurance. So we wanted to ask your thoughts directly on the importance in the insurance industry, not necessarily only with insurance companies, but also with brokers, other players, because you have web aggregators, so many different players who are coming to it. With the importance of independent directors, sensitization to the fact that this pandemic, as well as various other catastrophes which are coming, how does it sensitize them to their directions of the board, in this new era of catastrophes?
Yeah, thank you, Bharti, and thank you, Jessila, for this opportunity. See, the role of independent directors is very, very important in any institution. In an insurance company where we deal with mostly the policyholders' funds, I think the role of independent directors is all the more important. If you look at a life insurance company, 90% of the funds they deal with belong to the policyholders. You look at a general insurance company or a health insurance company, 80 to 85% of the funds belong to the policyholders. So the need for governance and directors playing a very important role cannot be underestimated. If you look at the insurance industry today, it has been going through a lot of challenges. The pandemic has been a serious issue for the whole country, the whole economy. Insurance industry is no exception. One is, of course, on the business side, the ability of the people to pay premium has been reduced because of the economic challenges. And the other side, if you look at the health insurance companies or general insurance companies doing health insurance, the amount of claims they had to face, especially in the second wave in the year, has been very, very challenging. In fact, the claims ratios for all the companies have been very badly impacted because there have been so many hospitalizations, serious hospitalizations, and even the life insurers have been impacted. There have been a lot of mortalities. So the results of all the insurers in the first quarter has not been really up to the mark. But the positive side, the business is seeing some kind of a growth, and more importantly, people now understand the importance of insurance. There's no need to tell people that insurance is very important. People now today understand what is health insurance, what is life insurance, why it is so important. I think that's a silver lining in the whole, scheme of issues and challenges. I think the independent directors, they really bring a totally an unbiased and independent perspective to what's happening in the boardroom. Their role is not only to protect the company, its shareholders, but also all the stakeholders. So they have a very important role to play to make sure that the customers are taken care of, the employees are taken care of, the suppliers are taken care of, and the company is on a very sustainable mode. That way, I feel the independent directors have a very important role to play, and especially in these challenging times.
In your opinion, are Indian independent directors sensitized enough to the fact that cyber risks are very huge risks, which actually impact the business continuity of the company as such, as well as for all stakeholders? And what do you feel can be done better to make them more sensitized to this risk?
I think you have touched a very important point. See, cyber today is a serious issue, especially in the pandemic era where so much technology is being used. People are working from home, data is accessed from central servers. So there are serious issues. We have seen that the cyber crimes have increased manifold during the pandemic period. A lot of phishing mails, ransomware attacks. All these, are increasing day by day. The cyber criminals are always ahead of the companies in terms of their ability to create issues. So I think today one of the challenges the companies face is their exposure to cyber risks. And I think it's very important for the board to be cognizant of this fact. In fact, in the programs we run for the independent directors, we really have a session on sensitizing them on the cyber risk, the kind of problems today, companies are facing. How should the board really drive the cybersecurity issues of the companies, and how should they protect themselves through adequate insurance, the need for cyber audit. So all this, we are talking to the independent directors because the board has to play a very important role on these matters. They really have to make sure that the company is well prepared to face the kind of attacks the cyber criminals are really, today causing to the companies. And we have seen instances of, huge losses to the companies and near losses. I know instances where a big financial institution faced a massive loss. It was stopped at the last minute, otherwise the funds would have just flown out to the criminals. So we are facing a really a serious issue, and the board, especially the independent directors, need to be sensitized. Very, very critically on this matter.
And how is because earlier there was a lot of mis-selling happening through these insurance tech companies. How is it getting sorted now? Do you think it's like getting
No, in fact, mis-selling is largely happening through intermediaries and
right,
agents, the people who really, face the customers.
right,
So, what the industry has been doing is to really train these agents and intermediaries, so that they understand insurance well. Also, sensitize them on the need for being open, transparent. The regulator has also come out with a lot of rules and regulations, how to make sales, how to give information to the customers. So it's not easy to really mis-sell. I
okay,
think the companies have to really sensitize their marketing people. If the companies don't focus on this, if they want sales at any cost, then this is going to happen. So today
right,
we want sales with responsibility, and companies should really go for sales on a sustained basis. You can't really mis-sell and hope to get away. There's one day
right,
you're going to be in trouble.
mm-hmm.
So this is
Right,
where I think the role of the companies and also the board. The board has the
Yeah.
policyholders protection committee. So they need to really see what the company is doing to be more transparent, to more open, to avoid instances of mis-selling. So the directors, especially the independent directors, have a very important role to play here.
going to a different set of questions. I would like to know about your journey so far. It has been a very uh, you know uh, I mean, not long, I would say, but yeah, it was has been a very rich journey for you. So, if you can share some of those points, and also your stint with GIC Housing Finance, which I found is like totally off from your existing, from what you have done for so long. So, just wanted to understand how was that journey, and do you plan to do something beyond insurance at some point?
So it's a long journey if you consider by the number of years, though I still feel fresh about insurance.
I think
So
there's a
it's almost 40 years, and
yeah,
I have worked in different places, worked at the grassroots, which
yeah.
really have stood me in good stead in terms of understanding insurance, knowing the finer aspects of insurance. So I worked in various parts of India as well as abroad for a few years in various capacities. Ultimately, heading United India Insurance, which is a large insurance company, and then ultimately New India Assurance. Of course, I spent most of my life in New India Assurance. So it's been a very rich experience for me. It's not that I chose insurance as a career. I just came in, if I may use the word, by accident. But then I really enjoyed it. Because this is one profession where you really can do good to people in times of distress. When somebody suffers a loss, when a family loses its breadwinner, you are there to, provide them succor and monetary compensation, really help that family, help that business, who can really give employment to a large number of people. So that has been a very satisfying experience to me. So that way I enjoyed, and that's why I continue to be very actively associated with the industry for such a long time. Then, of course, I moved to the National Insurance Academy about 2.5 years back.
Yes.
The idea is basically, give back to the industry what I have learned over the years. Also, prepare people who will be kind of a pipeline to the industry, because we train youngsters. We do a 2 year PGDM equivalent to MBA program. So these youngsters go into the insurance industry, and really, they are occupying important positions in many companies. We also train large number of insurance professionals. We do research consultancy on insurance, and very importantly, we act as a think tank to the policymakers. We sit on many of the committees of IRDAI, the government. So some of the important key changes they make in the sector, we get involved, we get consulted. So this has been a very satisfying, because not only you contribute to the development of the industry, you're also able to shape the future of the industry in this role.
Right. So
And
just
talking about GIC Housing Finance,
Yeah.
again, see, I got into the board of GIC Housing Finance largely because New India Assurance is a promoter of GIC Housing Finance. So that's how my association with GIC Housing Finance started. And that continues even today, even after I had moved out of New India. It continues today. I'm there as an independent director. It's a different area, but part of the financial services. So, I enjoy that. Clearly, though I'm on the boards of many insurance and insurance associated entities at this point of time, clearly, I'll be very happy to be associated with other entities, because, you know, uh, uh, as a board member, it is not that you need to know domain alone. I mean, you also bring a lot of other skills,
right.
which will be very useful to the board. So I'll be very happy to, let's see how it emerges.
Right.
For dwellings, for homes, basically people don't believe in taking any type of insurance. And now you are having the Maharashtra flood losses, and then you had earlier the Odisha cyclones and all. So if it could be built into sort of a monthly package, like how you pay your electricity bill, you could also build in a component of home insurance into that. So your home insurance could be taken care of, and people would not understand, I mean, would not feel the pinch so much as paying the premium at one particular point of time. So if you could just expatiate on that and your role with housing finance to bring this about.
Yeah, so Bhati, you have touched a very important point. See, uh, many people don't insure their homes. I'm not talking only of those who are not educated, who cannot afford. People who are very well educated, financially literate, who have the ability to pay premium. Premiums are not really much. They don't really, take the trouble of insuring their homes. There are
Correct.
many countries in the West where everyone will have insurance for their homes. I was working in the Caribbean for almost 4 years. I mean, everyone will have homeowners insurance. Whereas in India, hardly 3%, 4% of the people have home insurances. So I think this is something very important, because India today faces a lot of catastrophes. You have
Yes.
cyclones in the west, cyclones in the east. So every year we have 3 to 4 cyclones. Added to that, floods,
We had a
occasional
recent,
earthquakes.
Seismic tremor just now in
Yeah,
Chennai
that's what I'm
last
saying.
week.
Occasionally earthquakes. So Home insurance is absolutely mandatory. See, what's happening is, people who are belong to the vulnerable sections, they lose their properties. Today we have been able to save lives because of various improvements, but people lose properties. So I think we need a home insurance. So the industry has actually been talking to the government whether some kind of an insurance can be given to people. Everyone can be covered. People who cannot afford, maybe the government can subsidize or pay the premium. Others can take. So we have been talking about it, but it has not yet materialized. But we have to find some ways of making sure that people take home insurance policies. And I agree with you that housing loan, housing finance companies can really provide. House insurance for the home loans they give. I think they do it now because it's important as a part of collateral security. They ensure that homes are insured. But then housing loan homes are very small. We really have a
Correct.
large number of homes which are uninsured. In fact, we at National Insurance Academy did a research study for the state of Kerala. As you know, the Kerala had huge floods 2 years back.
Correct.
Almost 40% of the state was underwater.
Water.
So they have, in fact, we did a work for them on catastrophe risk coverage for homes and other properties. Hopefully, it should be of some use to them in deciding how to provide cover to the people of the state. And we are looking at the whole country
Correct.
because there are countries in the east, in the west, they're all in the coast, they're all exposed to climate risk today. With global warming, climate risk, the catastrophes have increased. The intensity
Correct.
of catastrophes have increased.
Very true. Very true. And the other thing, coming back to board governance, to a large extent, you would see that SMEs and other slightly mid-level corporates are also not sufficiently and adequately insured. Um, Most of them do take insurance if their financiers insist
Yeah.
on it, but the level of intervention by the board, or the encouragement by the board to ensure that various levels of insurance should not be looked on as a necessary evil, but more as a level of protection, a layer of protection, including for cyber insurance, cyber crime, for office package insurance. So do you not feel that independent directors can explore this more?
Yeah, see, today the board has to understand the importance of insurance. They should not look at it as some kind of an expense. They should look at it as a risk management measure.
Mm.
Today,
Yeah.
risk management is seen as a very important thing by all the corporates. So, first of all, board should really, ask these right questions. Are all the adequate insurances have been taken? So, board should also get involved in understanding whether the right policies have been taken. Policies have been taken for the right amounts. So that's very important. This applies to all the corporates, but today I don't really see directors on the boards asking questions on insurance. They
Correct.
don't even
Correct.
ask whether DNO insurance is there for them. They don't even protect themselves, not to
Yes.
talk of the institutions. So I think this sensitization is very important. I feel you talked about SMEs. SMEs are awfully underinsured. They don't really take policies. Their employees are also not protected. So
Correct.
there's a serious issue because India has almost 3 crore, MSMEs, and
Yeah.
all of them are providing a lot of employment. I think the board, wherever they are corporates, the directors have to take it very seriously, make sure that they're all well protected.
Very true. Same also with real estate industry, both in the commercial space as well as in the residential space. Real estate industry is very underinsured. So
Yeah.
there's a deep lack of awareness, except for big places like L&T or Hiranandani, and only they know about it. So like you said, no, the employees are very largely uninsured, and the board should intervene to a large extent, and not cry over the losses at the latter part of time. So
Yeah.
another, yeah, please go ahead, sir.
No, this brings me to the question: do the directors ask the right questions in the board? So, what do they do in the board? I think so. That's where I think the directors. So, the boardroom culture is also very important. Is there an environment where people can really speak up freely, can ask the right questions? They don't feel worried whether the promoter who's sitting there will feel bad about those questions. So I think that culture, if it is there, then all these things will automatically happen. I find, my experience as well in seeing how the boardrooms really function. Many times the directors, especially the independent directors, keep quiet and they don't ask the right questions. I think that's something we need to really change if governance has to increase. Governance can increase only if the board functions well. Otherwise, whatever the regulators do or the government does will only be ticking the compliance boxes. It may not be real governance. Governance is something more than compliance. Compliance is just a
True.
very basic requirement. Governance is something which happens on its own, and it has a broader connotation.
So I just want to understand how has, because insurance is again a slightly heavily regulated industry compared to other industries. So how has it really helped, governance? Do you think did it work in a, I mean, more a stronger way, or has it been like not worked in terms of growth?
See, insurance is a very strongly regulated industry, no doubt about it, and there are some reasons for it. One is the point I mentioned at the beginning of the program is you are dealing with policyholders' funds. Number one. Number two, we are selling insurance in a country where people don't understand insurance. So the policyholders' interests need to be protected. The third reason is, you are talked about mis-selling, unhealthy business practices. So all this need to be controlled for insurance to grow. Otherwise, if these issues really create a bad image for the insurance industry, people won't take insurance, and then the insurance penetration will not grow in our country. So there are good reasons why the regulator is brought about a lot of regulations to control the functioning of the insurance industry. Of course, there is another view that the regulations are too micro and there are too many regulations, adding to the regulatory the cost of doing business. So we need a balance. Maybe the regulators can relook. Probably there's a time when the regulators need to relook at the regulations to see whether they can move towards principle-based regulation rather than rule-based regulation, at least in some areas where companies can be given a little more freedom to operate. But
Right.
that's something we all need to discuss and make it happen. But regulations are important for an industry like insurance. There's no doubt about it.
How much do you feel that the board, should also help to govern these aspects, like you very clearly put it? Yeah, please
So
go
the
ahead.
board has to play an important role. That's what I'm saying. So the board
Yeah, yeah,
needs to understand its full role. It's not a very small role which they think they are playing as part of the policyholders protection committee. They have to play a much wider role. Here, the image of the company is involved, the reputation is
yeah,
involved, and
yeah.
also, insurance will grow if there's a positive sentiment in the market. So the board has to play an important role. It may not be happening now. I'm sure it will happen in the near future.
In the near future. So, with regard to mentor my board, like we are talking about governance and directors, again, we would love for you to, in this 2021, uh, as against 6 months earlier, what do you feel would be very important for independent directors, women directors, to be sensitized about with regard to risk management, cyber insurance, business continuity planning, and for companies, lots of IPOs are lined up, as you would be seeing from the papers. So insurances like POSI, D&O liability. So what you feel would be very important, just like your thoughts on this.
See, for the independent directors of insurance companies at this point of time, a few things are very, very important. One is, governance, which I would mean transparency, openness, and also taking care of all these stakeholders. In fact, we at National Insurance Academy currently are doing a big project on the concept of stakeholder value creation. See, today, every company is focused on giving dividend to the investors, but are they really focused on creating value for other stakeholders? So it's not that only the shareholders contribute to the success of an organization. The environment is used, which the society is giving. The employees have long-term stake. Even the investors keep moving. Shareholders today buy stock. After a month, they leave. Whereas the employees are virtually bound to the organization. So we're doing a project as uh, who are the stakeholders of a company, and what should be the, how they should be really rewarded by the company. So this is very important. So I think the role of the board is to take care of all these stakeholders. That's one thing. Second thing is looking at the various risks to which the organization is exposed. You're mentioning about cyber risk, even climate risk is a major risk for insurance companies. So I think the board has to play a role in driving the enterprise risk management of the organization. It's a top-driven function, understanding the risk, putting in place risk mitigation measures so that the company can face situations like the pandemic, can continue to function. Business continuity plans have to be robust. So that's very, very important. The third is sustainability of operations. I think the quarter to quarter performance is not really great. Today you produce quarterly results by by end of July, and then the next quarter is due. So companies have become very short term minded. So companies have to look at little more long term, see whether the business is sustainable, have long term strategies. I think the board has to play an important role. I think the role of a board is basically to provide leadership to the company and make sure that the CEO is able to deliver what the board really wants. I think even that balance is not there in many of the boards. Sometimes the CEO runs the company and the board is a passive spectator. But actually, the way the scheme of things should be, the board is actually, as representative of the shareholders, should
Yes.
really be running the organization. CEO should really execute. He is an executive arm of. So I think those imbalances need to be sorted out, and this is where I think the board has to play a very important role. The board members have to speak when they have to speak and ask the right questions. Areas like related party transactions need to be very carefully looked at. And if things are not really working well, they should not hesitate to even quit the boards.
Wow. Yes. Very right. And a few sage words of advice for our training in Mentor My Board. So, Divya's
No,
not here, but I'm sure she would want your thoughts on this also.
no, I think all of you are doing a great job because today governance is very, very important, and directors need to understand their role. I think as an institution which wants to train, develop directors diversity. We need a lot of women directors on the boards, with people with different skills. I think you are playing a very important role, and if the directors are quite trained and quite skilled, definitely the companies will do well, and that's good for the country. So I must compliment you. Keep up your good work, and we will also contribute to your success in whatever way we can.
Yes, sir. We are planning to take this ahead. Thanks. Jessica, would you like to wind up?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you for this. It was nice hearing your view and how insurance has grown. It's always a learning to hear veterans like you talk about in for industries such as this, which is more technical in nature. So I would like to highlight few points from this discussion. Basically, firstly, you mentioned how board culture is very crucial for for an insurance company or any company to go ahead with their with by about giving a direction or view vision for the company. And second thing you pointed about that boards should look at all the boards like any company boards should look at insurance with utmost importance, which will help in managing their risk, which is critical. And also you mentioned how independent directors end up being quite in a discussion, which should not be the case. They should be asking a lot more questions than that's the way a healthy board will could function more efficiently. And also I would like to highlight the point where you said is governance more is more than just being compliant. It is about addressing all the needs of the company. So I would like to thank you for being part of this session. And also I would like to mention that this session would be part of our weekly print edition on Grow with Governance and would appear on our videos will appear on our YouTube channel on Free Press Journal and Mentor My Board.